What is up, people? Welcome back. So, today we're actually going to try the new rubber on. Now they're quite a bit taller, as you can see, the fronts. But these are fronts. The rears, pretty much the same. Not going to be an issue once we've got the rear rim, the rim sections. Can't get my freaking words out. So we're going to try these on there. Now, I did some calculations, but I ain't got a freaking clue whether these are going to fit. So, we'll get the car up, we'll drag these off, and we shall see, shall we? They will either work or they won't. And we're going to change the oil. It's new oil in there. We changed the oil and filter before we went to Rolling Road. So it's new oil in there. But we're going to drop it anyway. I'm going to put new stuff in. So what I do with the oil that's in there, but not got a lot of use, like virtually nothing, it goes in this tub. As you can see it's still a nice gold. It still is really good oil. You can't really see it, but it's really good oil. So if it hasn't done a lot of hours, like in here is the oil from Donington Park, where we did handful of laps testing. That's in there, and this is going to go in there because this only did a Rolling Road. And what I do with this is I stick it in my normal Mini or any normal car, because it's well good enough, because it's freaking expensive oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the oil, drop the filter, but I think we'll change the wheels first. We'll see how we get on from there, shall we? So what we have to do first, you see weights on the inside of the wheel there. You have to tape them. Now not a lot of people do this, but as you can see, my wheels are pristine. Yeah. So I keep everything clean, don't I, as you all know. So all this is up the old ones. It's not really going to be really important. We'll give it a good clean. I mean, to be honest, I could clean all this off, couldn't I? But it's not really going to be detrimental to the handling. Just a bit of dirt. I'm not one for cleaning shit, I must admit. So we want to tape that. What I'm going to use is silver tape. This aluminium stuff works really well, sticks really well. This covers two things really. It stops the weight coming off, which, you know, could ruin your race if your wheel starts vibrating. But it also is a health and safety thing. Because if that weight comes off and sticks in the middle of the straight, and the car flicks that up at 130, 140 miles an hour, and it hits the windscreen of the car behind you, it's gonna make a bit of a mess. So, for what it took to tape it up, is it worth it? I think so. Now look, that's like brand new now, look. That's about as far as my cleaning goes, I'm not going to lie. Considering this is dirt from Castle Combe, it's foreign dirt, isn't it? Right, let's try this puppy on. Bigger, hopefully it will be better. Easy. Oh, she's close. There's a lot of money spiders knocking around there. Have you noticed? She's on the car. Oh man, that's all the meat. Woo! Give it a bit of a roll. What is that? Man, she's tight. Oh, I think might. She's under. And we don't use a lot of suspension on this car, but man, she's all the meat, isn't she? And she's in. No, right there. And she's just in. That is all the meats. Did you hear that rattle? Watch. What is that? Let's investigate. We're going a little bit off track here, aren't we? Might be a rose joint on here. Right, figured it out. Actually, when I got the wife to bounce on the car, it's this rose joint here. It's got, you can't feel it, it's got a very small amount of knock in it, so I'm not even bothered. Minor. So, we've got all the meat on the front. Now I'm thinking, is that going to catch? I know this doesn't compress much. Barely any. It lifts if anything, but it doesn't compress much. But when you haven't got much. So what I'm going to do is put the other side on, because at the minute the other side's sitting lower, which will be pulling this side down. So let's get the other side on, shall we? Right, it's another new day. So I did put the other side on, and it did raise up a little bit. I could get my little finger in, but I still wasn't happy. So what I did is I raised the arches up. So now we've got much more space. So what I did to raise this up was basically unbolted it and just lifted it up about ½ inch. Because if you see before, this used to sit just below this line. So I'll stick a picture in for you. Yeah, so I just put a 1, 2, 3 block on top of the tyres, one of these. 1, 2, 3 block. It did, trust me, it went in there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 block. And just raised it up, re-drilled it, put it on, and then trimmed all the steel and fiberglass, because that steel's still there, and this is really thick fiberglass. So yeah, we've got an inch clearance now, which I think is going to be better. And technically now, these tyres are that much taller. Look, I've got the old ones here. Oh, we've got our new rim sections, by the way. That's what we're going to do now. Hey, these are the fronts. So we are like that much taller. I think it works out to about an inch and 1.2 inch, something like that. So that much extra tyre will give us more top speed, because you know this car runs out of puffed at about 120. Technically, we should have a bit more top end using the bigger tyre, and it will give me a slight bit more ground clearance at the front, because I had to raise the back up, if you remember, because it was catching. So now the car should sit more level instead of high at the back, even though I do like it to run high at the back because it helps with your aero. Hey, tyres everywhere. It's just wheels, tyres everywhere. So what we're going to do now, the fronts are on and they turn lock to lock. Beautiful job. My rears have come. I had to order 2 new outers for these. These outers are 4.5. These are 4. So I've only dropped ½ inch, but my mate Dunkley runs a 7J on these tyres. Exactly the same tyres. So that's what I'm going to do. So what we've got to do, we've got to split these down. Yeah? So we've got to undo all the nuts. Replace the nuts. Nuts go in the bin. The bolts, not so bad on the rears. If I was doing this on the fronts, I'd throw the bolts away and put new bolts in. Mainly for the heat. Yeah? Now I'll tell you a little story. When I was at Brands Hatch, I ran those 8.2 slicks. Yeah? Gym lines, because they were pretty much worn out. This one exactly is worn. Had those 9.2s, no 9s, that he was taking off that were mint. So I went out and did quali on them in this. I went out, did a pretty hard quali, trying to keep up with the people who are considerably lighter with a load more power, and me and this steel body little mini. So I was going pretty hard. I think I qualified, was it 4th? Something like that. And we had to take the wheels off the car quick, get them over to the tyre man to get them off. These wheels were that hot, you couldn't pick them up. I had to roll them there, and the man changing the tyres had to put 2 pairs of gloves on because the rims were that hot. So all of these nuts and bolts take a bit of a hammering, and the heat with the expansion and contract, you really have to keep on top of these nuts. Really, after every outing, you should be checking the torque on these nuts, because they do come loose because the bolts stretch. Now, a lot of people don't realise that. Yeah? Also, the silicone that's in the front tyres is... I use this dough corking 700. It's heat resistant. The rears, not so much. You can just use normal black because they do not get the heat. But the fronts, that's why also I run competition wheel studs on the front. Yeah? These are like the rounded domed ones. And these are a stronger material because this stretches. This, honestly, mate, you could seriously cook an egg. Well overdone on these wheels when I come in. Because these big brakes just generate that much heat. Yeah, so remember, if you're on the front, bin your bolts. Don't forget to keep on top of your checking of your torques on these bolts. Doesn't take a lot because there's so many of them. So what we're going to do, we're going to rip all these bolts. I've already loosened this one, by the way. Then we've got to knock off this sealer just by cut it, strip them apart. Then we've got to clean up the back section, put the front section on, bolt it together, seal it, because the seal is going to take like a day to cure before we can get the tyres on. So I'm going to chuck you on time lapse, pop all these bolts out, take the sections out, strip it down, bish, bash, bosh, 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 get it done. Alright, there we go. Here's one done. I ended up changing the bolts as well. I had them, so I thought I'm going to change them. So that's it. This is slightly a different rim section. I think this is folded over, because this isn't. This is just one piece. But this lip looks like it comes up and rounds over. Don't know why he's done that. That is better in my eyes. But we shall see, shall we? Once we get them balanced, see what the balance like. But yeah, new bolts, new nuts, left the washers, and the beader sealer. All that sealer is to stop the air leaking. And what you've got is the air pressure in the tyre pushes the sealer into the gap, which seals it even more, because it's done up against the face. So the odds of it leaking, to be honest, you could probably get away without running the sealer. But it's best just to run a quick bead around it. Right, I'm not going to bore you with doing the next one. I'm just going to get it done, and then we'll come back once the tyres are on. Right, see you in a minute. Right, people, so we've got the rears fitted, and you'd be shocked. We had to put no weights. My mate's tyre balancing machine, you put it on, and then you have to register the inner lip, and it does like 3 separate balances, and they all came back 0 across both tyres. Now that's a pretty good tyre that's this heavy that needed 0 weights, and the fronts have only got tiny weights on them. But anyway, let's chuck these on the old Hayabusa and fill the arch a little bit more than what these things are. Right. Yeah. These are the spacers I have to put on with my wets, because I run the non-spacered hubs. So I run the non-spacered hubs so I can get the face of the wheel closer to the bearing, so there's less pressure on said bearings. But in wets, I'm not really going fast enough. It's going to cause me an issue. It's something daft, like for every 1 inch of offset is 1 ton of pressure on a bearing. Something like that. Don't quote me on it. It's torqued. That pisses everybody off, that is. It's torqued up, that is now. It's going to take a little bit to settle. But we're just in, so we've got clearance. Where the other tyre, the other rim, it would have poked. I think this is just a much better sized rim for this 175. And considering it's about the same contact patch as my slick, I'm not really losing much traction. I think it was 10mm, if that. But yeah, we've still got arch gap because I run the back higher, don't I? And we've still got this gap here, where I think if we'd have put the taller tyre on the back, the 185, we wouldn't have had a lot of gap there at all. These are set at 40 psi at the minute because they're still settling on the bead. Because these tyres are so tight to get on these split rims. But yeah, bish bash bosh. All the meat's up front. And hopefully enough meat's on the rear. It will settle down a little bit. It doesn't run normally that high, but yeah, I'm quite chuffed with that. She rolls a bit stiffer, I'm not going to lie. With these heavier tyres, it does roll a bit stiffer. Yeah. We're on and ready. Right, so they are the AR1s on the Busa. 2 weeks, no, not this weekend, the weekend after. Silverstone, baby. Let's run it and see what happens. Right, thanks for watching. Long video. Well, it's been set out. This has been going on for like a week and a half now. Maybe longer than that. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, people. See you later.